I thought you liked my crop.
Yeah, that was really good.
I thought you liked my crop.
9:30 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today's Monday, May 9th, 2022. First item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Rich Bracco, Steve Kleinglass, Richard McCafferty, Ernest Booker, and Ken Smaha. On behalf of District Management is myself, Belinda Blandon. District Counsel Andy Cohen is present. District Engineer Rick Schappager is present. Field Manager Keith Livermore is present. We have Rudy Seratan from Vesta present, as well as Ginger, and Anzalone present as well. And for the record, we do have audience members present. Supervisors, the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remove your hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Management State of Affairs update by Vesta. Rudy?
Good morning, board. Good morning.
Morning.
So the River Club reorganization plan continues, and we're focusing on these opportunities. The resident experience, club staffing, and the facilities maintenance and projects. On the operations side, we've had a busy month with increased resident usage of the tennis, pool, and fitness amenities. Paul and his team continue to do a good job with our court maintenance. And residents who have visited the Tiki Bar and the pool lately have noticed an improved presentation and overall general cleanliness of these high traffic areas. In the clubhouse, recent events including Cinco de Mayo, the theme party, and the Mother's Day brunch yesterday were both well attended and very successful. And my thanks to the staff, Anthony, Kevin, Aubrey, and the rest of the food and beverage team for their hard work. We're seeing increased demands for association meetings and other meeting room reservations in the clubhouse. This activity is staffed by the club's tipped employees, and management has proposed a fee schedule to help offset the costs to set up and tear down these meeting rooms and functions. That's for the board's consideration. With regard to the club staffing challenges, as you know, the job market has improved just slightly. Salaries and wages continue to increase with a shortage of skilled workers in many areas. Our team is focused on getting the club fully staffed and will fill the 11 open positions. The most critical area is our kitchen staffing challenge and our highest priority. With regard to the facilities maintenance, Paul and Miles have scheduled several maintenance projects at the pool and fitness and tennis over the spring and summer. From time to time, we will temporarily close these areas for a few hours in order to perform needed repairs and maintenance. Residents will be notified in advance, and we do apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Unlike past practice, the club will not be closing during the month of August to perform these annual maintenance projects on the clubhouse, tennis, and pool facilities. So on a quarterly and an ongoing basis during these low occupancy periods, that's when we will address those issues and not shut the entire facility down. The tennis staff is also planning to resurface court 5 and 6 in the next 2 weeks, and following the resurfacing program, once completed, Synergy will then be installing the lights on courts 5 and 6. We've contacted our AC manufacturer to provide an assessment on the problematic main dining room HVAC unit, the one in this room. We've also gotten a recommendation from our vendor, AC 360, on some possible solutions. You may have noticed that we've installed the 3 defibrillators at the tennis, pool, and also at the front desk in the clubhouse. Those units were recommended by the fire marshal, and they were not obviously functioning properly. On the membership side, Lisa has contacted the membership director at the Venice Yacht Club, and unfortunately, we've learned that the club will not be offering their reciprocal club privileges this summer. The clubhouse is under renovation. I'll be happy to take your questions.
Nice job on the newsletter.
Yeah.
Glad to
Thank
see,
We should do
that come out.
Yeah, we've got Vesta's marketing team and ISA, they collaborated on that effort. This is the second consecutive month that they've worked on it together, and this particular product looked better than the first, and we've gotten quite a few favorable comments from residents.
How many attended the Mother's Day brunch yesterday?
I believe the final count was 162. We've seen a slight fall off, if you will, in attendance in the last couple of weeks. I think immediately after Easter, there was a little bit of a decline. We'll continue to focus on marketing the services and providing a little bit more opportunities for people to come out and support the clubhouse.
How are we doing on
A lot of
pricing?
people leaving.
Yeah,
Well, that's part of the issue, the snowbirds are leaving.
right. Yeah, it's an adjusting period we're in.
How are we doing on pricing with,
A lot of that focus has been, we're continuing to get, information from our vendors with the inflation adjustments they're making and passing it on to all of their clients. We're focused on the wedding market, on the external parties, and some of the club functions. That's where you'll see the major adjustment in prices. Some of the club functions like Easter and Mother's Day, we made some slight adjustments to those. But the regular menus that are offered for lunch and dinner service, we're trying to keep those affordable so we can drive more traffic into the clubhouse.
Have you adjusted the costs associated with the weddings? Is it reasonable or compatible to other facilities?
The market has adjusted to all of the facilities that have increased pricing. So we've seen somewhat of a decline in bookings for weddings and other events. That's not unusual. People are still bargain hunting. And so we're not going to discount our facilities, and we're not going to discount our services. We want to be competitive, but at the same time, it shouldn't be the best deal in town.
Rudy, and I think you saw the email that we all received about when there's maintenance work being done at the pool, and it doesn't start till 9 or 10, and then the pool's closed from 7 on or whatever. Is that going to be addressed?
Yeah, and I touched on that.
I know you did, but
Yeah, it's sort of hit or miss. There's always going to be someone who would be inconvenienced, and certainly we don't want to interrupt anyone's enjoyment of those amenities. But we're trying to give as much advance notice as possible. We'll do it in the very early morning hours. It's the same maintenance crew that's also preparing the courts every morning for play. And then once that's finished, because that particular community starts a little bit earlier, then we'll transition over to the pool and get the pool ready and do those maintenance things. We anticipate closing the pools down for about a few hours once a quarter, because we're in the pools and we're actually scrubbing the walls and doing some of the things that you really can't wait 11 months to address.
I was told that the tennis pro was actually cleaning the pool with your maintenance guy. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, there's been a sighting of the tennis pro in the pool along with the maintenance supervisor.
Is that part of his job description?
No, with our staffing situation, I have to commend the staff. And I've mentioned it, to the board on a couple of occasions. We shift over. Everyone is shifting over and trying to support each other's department. It's exactly what you want to do at a time like this when we need all hands on deck. And so it's not mandatory that they do that, but they're certainly volunteering and trying to help out in every area that needs help. We've identified the pool as an area that was not maintained to the standard that we would like, and certainly didn't meet some of the residents' expectations. So we needed to address it with a sense of urgency.
And can you tell us about Is there a new chef, another new chef?
He's in the onboarding process. We're hoping to have him here today. But we've had some hiring situations where people have taken their time to get on the schedule. And we reached out to him over the weekend and we have not heard back. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. In the meantime, we're also looking at options. I'm not saying he's not coming. I'm just saying that we're prepared.
Rudy, I know last week there was an issue with locking the facility. And,
Yes.
You and I had spoken about that. Could you just give us all an update on what plan has been put in place to ensure that that does not happen again?
Well, the most important thing is to have somebody who understands exactly what that role and that responsibility entails. And it's come to our attention from time to time, there's been some missed opportunities in doing that. And it was assigned to a number of different people. To remedy that, we now have a designated person each day of the week or evening that has gone around with our team to make sure that those areas are secured. It's a very important issue for us. Certainly don't want to have those facilities exposed. We appreciate gate security coming over almost every night and double checking to make sure every door is locked. They have brought some of those items to our attention and they've been addressed. I anticipate that there will be much more consistency in locking it going forward.
And do you have if I'm supposed to lock up on Wednesdays, but I'm sick, do you have a backup on that?
Well, it's the supervisor on duty, or what we call the manager on duty, who will be aware of that condition. So he will make that adjustment or do it himself.
Okay, thank you.
I know a memorandum here for tear down fee proposal.
Correct.
Can you expand, explain some of the costs associated with providing these services that heretofore we have not recouped?
We can't hear you, Ernest.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have microphones for people.
I note that we have a tear down fee proposal that you submitted to us this morning for a possible consideration. Can you explain the costs associated with having these, say, group meetings and all, and its effect on our employees or your employees?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. This has been a concern of the board for some time. Many of you brought it to my attention, particularly during that period of time when the clubhouse was going in transition and a number of employees were leaving. One of the reasons that they left is because there was no wage parity with the market. When we started dissecting exactly what were the tasks and the functions that was triggering them to feel as though, as a tipped employee, they were not being compensated appropriately for doing a scope that was outside of their normal duties, we discovered that moving hundreds of chairs and dozens of tables around on a continuous basis from Sunday night through Tuesday and then occasionally during the mornings during the week. That was becoming a real problem for our staff. And I know you've gotten the same feedback from others. So as we started looking at that and we started looking at the booking activity, we quickly realized that a lot of the associations and other groups that meet here on a regular basis is driving that demand. So there's a significant demand today and will probably increase going forward from the various groups for meeting and meeting accommodations. And it's still being performed by the tipped employees. So we've made some recommendations as part of our budget to adjust those wages. And we're also making this proposal for your consideration on what we feel would be an affordable fee schedule in order to help offset that staffing cost associated with setting up rooms and tearing it down on an ongoing basis.
So what you're proposing is a different rate of pay for your employees when they do a setup and a tear down, as opposed to what they receive as servers?
That's correct.
So this money would go directly to their salaries?
This money would be considered, and I get clarification from Andy, would be considered rental income to the district, if I'm not mistaken. And it will help to offset that additional cost.
To implement these fees, we would have to obviously go through the rulemaking process.
Correct.
Because anytime we impose new fees, we would need to do that. So if it's something that the board is interested in moving forward with, then we would just need a motion to authorize staff to initiate the rulemaking process today. Then we would do the proper advertising and have a public hearing.
Well, I think it's only fair that the staff that's now doing an hour or hour and a half's worth of work or more, that normally get tipped during that time, they're not getting tipped, they're working for a lot less money, that they be fairly compensated. So I would have no problem in moving forward with this. What about the rest of this?
I think it's a good idea.
That's why I brought it up.
So,
It's common sense.
You want to make a motion to authorize staff to proceed with the rulemaking?
yep, I'll make a motion that we authorize staff to proceed with the rule process so that we can implement the fees.
I'll second.
Andy, if I may, a question with respect to the club's rules and regulations. Once the rule has been memorialized, will it become part of the rules and regulations going forward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
No, not on this issue.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care of that.
Do you have a question for Rudy?
No.
Okay, I do. Yeah. When I was looking at the newsletter the other day, I noticed that I didn't see the notary services offered any longer. And we used to have at least 2 notaries here, and I thought that was a terrific service to our residents. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, there's a gap today with the notary service, and Lisa will be going through that process to be notarized. We've had a couple of requests for notary service, and the PLA in Castle has been very helpful in supporting those residents and their needs. But standing with what we've done all along, we'll continue to provide that service, and Lisa is a designated person.
Great, thank you.
We
So a month or so?
I don't know how it takes, but I think that's a reasonable timeframe.
Thank you.
I think it's reasonable that we pay for that too, for whatever the costs are. It's $95 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a comment, not so much a question. I think we need to keep in perspective when we get an email from a resident, such as the one that complained about the pool was down for 4 hours or whatever, but the person only worked for 45 minutes or an hour. You know, I think we have to, I don't know, I only saw one email on that subject from one resident. I don't think we necessarily want to overreact to one email on any complaint. If there's a number of them, there's an issue. Somebody's always going to complain about something. So it seems to me, I mean, it's the golf course does maintenance. You know, they shut down the course. They don't work on every hole all the time. So it's a process. So I think we have to recognize you're going to be 4 hours. There's a 4-hour window to get maybe an hour or two's work done because people are moving around and doing other things. So I don't think we should just overreact to one comment about the pool being shut down for 4 hours and somebody only worked for an hour. Just my observation.
I think every email deserves an answer,
Yes,
even if it's,
but that's the answer.
even if it's, you know, it's been received, we're gonna look into it. But I agree with you. If it's, I only got one concern expressed about that.
But if it's a valid point, you know, to close the pool for 4 hours for an hour's worth of work, I think that's I don't want to see us overreact, but I think it is incumbent upon us to at least mention it to Rudy so he's aware of it. And
You know, I think we forwarded the email.
yes, exactly, we did, but, you know. to let it lay there and not do anything, I don't think that's right either.
No, I didn't say not do it.
I totally agree, not overreacting.
That's all.
It makes a lot of sense.
Anything else? Rudy?
No, if you don't have any other questions, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're now going to move forward with public comment. Our first speaker is Bill Naka. Mr. Naka?
Microphone? Yep. Here's a copy for you. Well, give one to Rich and one to Rudy.
I have, yeah.
No, you don't have that.
The one you sent yesterday?
No, you don't have this very simple. Rudy, on April 25th, I requested that you provide us some metrics. And I'm recapping them here. We want to hear more about the manning. How many positions are open by specialty? A full complement. What is your total complement? And Belinda requested that you provide this information to me last Friday. Haven't heard. Why are we having turnover so quickly with new hires? Are all new hires promised a specific number of hours? I don't know. But the most important thing is, and I know I've looked at the financials for the first 6 months of our fiscal year, I would like to see metrics for the following in numbers served for the first half 21-22 versus 20-21. Sunday brunches, weekday dinners, weddings, and other catered events. And I assume they have to be available if you're developing the budget. Otherwise, how do you get a budget together? That's it, gents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Naka. Our next speaker is Ted Malkasian.
Hi, Ted Malkasian. I'm just here to comment on a couple things. I just find that when I leave the premises, there's only two ways to go. You either go west on Laurel or south on Jacaranda. And when you go south of Jacaranda, coming home, you have no choice but at Laurel Road to turn left to come into the main entrance. You're aware, I'm sure, that the Laurel Road, the expansion's already been approved. This week, they're supposed to be approving the $11 million to fund it. So that's a done deal. When I go down Laurel Road towards the dead end, the new subdivision of the Senza, front gates all open, the front entrance is all open. They're just waiting for materials to finish building all the houses. They've got plenty of buyers. So irregardless of what's going to happen with the Publix corner, there's going to be more traffic at the main entrance. And I would strongly support, encourage you to start looking into opening up our back gate, the Siltadella, which is right now exit only, to have that also an entrance. Coming back up Jacaranda, making a right turn, which is a left turn, and then just pull right in there.
We're already looking into that.
Oh, good, because that'd be fantastic.
We started discussions on that, I think,
A couple months ago.
Keith looked into that several meetings ago.
Oh.
It's a definite consideration
Okay,
because of all the things you've just said.
okay, good. Well, I want to confirm my vote for that. So
You'll also see in the strategic plan, that's an item that
is in there. Good. Excellent.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Darlene Schimberg.
No?
Wow. The CDD meeting is not a CDD meeting without you.
Just say hi.
Anybody know the number for 911?
never.
You got new zappers.
Okay.
Zap you.
Yeah, you can zap me.
Please never do
Okay,
that.
I'm just gonna address one thing. And last meeting, you approved the sum of money to redo the landscaping at the pool. My question to you is, what is that entire project going to cost? You don't dig a hole in your backyard and then decide what you're gonna put in for a pool. You know the total cost, so we'd like to know what the furniture is gonna cost, what the total landscaping, based on what you told us. What kind of seating is it gonna provide? And I think I sent this somewhat in an email to Rich and the rest of the board. I am floored that we are spending this kind of money, even though it's only 27 bill, might go into 350,000. With all the cost of the furniture and everything that needs to be replaced and removed and redone. So keep that in mind. I mean, you're spending our money and we don't know what you're spending. We don't know the total cost. It's a mystery. Why is it a mystery? Why don't we know that? How many more seats are you going to get by doing what you're doing? So I guess it's just, I think you're putting the cart before the horse, and we really need to know the full picture, not just that you're going to rip out our landscaping. That doesn't tell me anything.
In the proposal that you saw, there's contingency amounts for the runovers that could happen. What we don't know really, and I said this to you in
Yes, you did.
response, we don't know exactly how many lounges it's gonna be or how many tables it's gonna be. So I think it's kind of difficult, unless Steve has a better answer, as to what that cost is going to be. I mean, if it's gonna be lounges, X dollars times the number of lounges that we have. If it's gonna be tables, how much seating is it gonna be? That decision, I don't think has been made. Has the facilities committee discussed that?
But
No,
But
and let me.
I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Let
Go
me just clarify one thing perhaps. So the contract that we signed for the Tiki Hut is 173,000 and change, more or less. The equipment portion is 53 and change, more or less. I don't know the exact figures. So we're at about 227 on the Tiki Hut project. And this board approved 250 a year ago for the construction process.
And I don't disagree with that.
Okay, all of the stuff you're hearing now with some landscaping, some more furniture, that's all outside, so to speak, of the realm of the tiki bar renovation. And the landscaping in particular was pretty thoroughly vetted over a long period of time between the pool and fitness committee, the landscape committee, the facilities committee. I mean, if anything got vetted, that landscaping portion got a heck of a review. As a matter of fact, it was not voted at a couple of meetings that you were upset about because we weren't moving it. Because we wanted everybody to vet it.
Get involved in it.
And I think the vetting process was a good thing. The final number on that, do we have a final number,
27,000.
Keith? On the landscaping and the pavers? Is that settled?
I'd have to get with Nancy,
Yeah.
But it's like 23,000.
23, 24.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of the landscaping and the pavers.
Correct.
Okay. So what's left then is the furniture. It's the furniture. And
Well, it's not just the furniture.
well, what else is left?
I mean, you've got the land, you've got to put everything back in, we don't know how many of the furniture you're gonna buy, but we've also been told that everything out there needs to be either repaired or replaced. So what is the total cost going to be to the residents?
I think the pool committee is looking into that.
Yeah.
We know we needed extra space. Exactly how many lounge chairs they're gonna buy, we don't know yet. That's what they're doing next. We want to get it into the next budget cycle or into the reserve study that's also being done now. So Nancy and her committee are working on that. But we know we needed the space. We know we need more furniture. The exact number is still to be determined. And the fact of the matter is, if they want to spend $100,000, we're probably going to tell them it's too much. And if it comes down to 50 and that's adequate, that may be the right number, but it's going to be something. I think we're all aware of that. We just, we don't know what the exact number is yet. And you know what? If we got a quote 2 months ago, by the time we order the furniture, it's going to be different.
It's going to be completely different. And I think that's where I'm coming from, is that, for me, if I'm running my business, I want to know what my total cost is going to be. I don't want to know what a piece of it is going to be. I don't want to end up having something done for however much that is going to cost, and then us find out that, whoa, we can't even, we're not even going to look at that, or we can't even replace what we thought we could replace.
We're gonna have to move on with
That's fine. Thank you.
The facilities committee will be dealing with the purchasing necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene.
Our next speaker is Steve Thomaston.
Good morning, supervisors.
Hey, Steve.
I want to take this moment just to advise you and of your audience online this morning that the monthly meeting for the POA is tomorrow here at the River Club at 5 p.m. At that time, we will have a presentation by the company that we engaged along with the Community Association to present the results of the survey that we've taken throughout the community. We want people to know more so they can help us make a better informed decision, but we need to get the word out because we, like you guys, are still saying, I didn't hear anything about this meeting. When is it? It's come to our attention over the last week or so that a lot of people were upset because their email addresses did not receive the survey. The majority of the reason was the email address was not authorized through the POA to send emails to them. We have a process by which when you register your house and everything, you have to sign a document that says that we can contact you electronically. And people were upset about that. I'm sorry, but that's part of the process by when you purchase your home and everything in here too. There's also another meeting, as you all well know, on the 17th, where the city council, the board will be meeting there to discuss the proposal for the change for the pickleball courts here too. That needs to be put out more often too, and have representation there. I don't know if the Board of Supervisors will be attending that or not, but a lot of the neighbors will be, both in support and not.
You got this, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, that meeting had been changed 3 times, right? We had tentative dates, but until the planning commission says, okay, this is it, and it wasn't until they got their May agenda together, then we knew it was going to be the 17th. It was in the newsletter. It's posted at the main entrance. It's posted here, and everybody got a mailing one.
And it's in the newspaper.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
I don't know what more we can do.
I don't either. But anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jerry Lewis.
I don't like sitting back there and talking. So first of all, thank you for all you do, because you do a lot. I want to comment, I had to write notes because I was running out of the house and I want to take less than 3 minutes. I won't beat my record of 30 seconds, but anyway, first and foremost, River Club, Courtesy Services, just a real quick update. There are 3 gateways in the River Club, 1 in fitness, 1 for dining, and one in the Tiki, so in the River Club, I guess, bar for the residents to use. They're all set up, passwords are there. If you auto connect, you auto connect. So they all have passwords. Miles and I worked on it on Friday. It's all taken care of, it's done. Second, there are 10 TV capabilities for us, cable TVs. Not all are deployed, but the ones that were here previously have been converted to Courtesy Services at no cost. Last internet to go in is very shortly going to happen. Thank you to Steve, who wants it by the tennis courts. And so wires are being deployed very shortly. So you'll see an orange wire strung up around the shed, and that's about where it's going to be. And it should provide great coverage for the tennis, for the residents who play tennis. So that's kind of moving forward. We should be done within the next 2 weeks. Let me just comment real quickly on the joint CDD POA board meeting, workshop. Excuse me. We actually took that very seriously, all of us. And first and foremost, Steve stole a little bit of my thunder, but we're having our first POA board meeting at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So we maybe can get some residents who don't partake, as we've discussed, in a board meeting. That would be, I think, a good thing. So great inputs from both boards. Next, Mr. McCafferty and I had a meeting to talk about the joint meeting between landscaping and ACC. The plan is for that meeting to take place next month. So it's in the works, but we've come to
There probably won't be a landscape committee meeting next month, so it'll have to be down the road at some point.
well, it'll be down the road, but it's in the planning process. And we have agreement that it's a good thing to do, collaboration, synergy amongst the teams, getting the smart people in the room to make community-wide standards the name of the game here. Last but not least, we've gotten some input on sidewalks. I have a very tentative, though not vetted, actually expense that is very attractive. I know Keith is also helping out with that. I don't have a number yet from Keith, but we're gonna be getting that pretty shortly. So things are moving in the right direction. Thank you to both boards for their help, support, collaboration, and synergy perspective on this. Great ideas, great way to go. Last but not least, I have one request. Because I do walk around here a lot, and I walk every day, and not everybody does, but I do. And I see the palm trees are starting to get their fruit-bearing pods. Those palms, and I know that's not in our contract, at least that's what I understand from talking to Keith, they need to be taken care of kind of quickly. They need to be removed. When the fruits drop, they spoil, and they provide an odor that is not exactly cologne. So if you guys could consider getting that done, or at least start to plan that, that would be great. Because quite frankly, we need one of those lift trucks, or whatever you call them, to take care of it. Yeah. So if you guys could take a look at that, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Jill Pizarro. Jill?
Thank you, Keith. Good morning. Just a few quick things. I wanted to say to Rudy and to Lisa Gates, if she's listening, I thought the newsletter was great. One of the things I appreciated about it was that it kind of made a tear sheet. You know, if I knew I wanted to go to something, I had a page that I could just, you know, take a quick screenshot and stick in my calendar or whatever. So I think the format, in addition to the content, was especially appreciated. Secondly, on the staff, as a member of the facilities committee, I've noticed this elevated stepping up of the staff. At the last facilities meeting, Miles Cleary, our maintenance tech, joined for the entire meeting, and it was incredibly helpful. He spent a lot of time answering our questions, incredibly good information, and I think made us feel on the facilities committee like we really had a partner on the staff. So I think that was incredibly appreciated. I did have a quick question, Rudy. When Supervisor Brooker was asking about the costs for the weddings, I know one of the things that struck me when I saw the wedding package was that we were charging $2,000 to rent out the club for weddings for the entire club for 6 hours, which struck me as unbelievably cheap. Have we changed that number?
Yeah, I think you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the criteria that we're looking at the market to guide us and how we should approach that. So that number has been revised. The wedding package out there at the moment is not the clean package.
Okay.
So that will be updated soon.
So if I call today to book the club, what are they? What number are you going to give me?
We're going to give you the numbers, and we're telling everyone this to call to make an inquiry that we've adjusted our pricing.
Okay.
And there'll be a disclaimer on the package that says it's subject to change.
Okay. Okay. I won't hold your feet to the fire anymore. Just a quick thing for the supervisors, the discussion about, and Rudy as well, on the bumping up of the costs or the fees so that we can pay the staff who are setting up. I would point out that we're already doing that on the fitness side. We have fitness instructors who are doing office work and are getting paid an hourly rate. And then when they teach the classes, they get a bump up to, I believe it's for a $40 an hour rate. So we're already doing that within the budget. If anybody wants to know where that is, I can tell you. But that is in there. So I'm wondering why we need to have a whole hearing rate structure thing if it's already being done for fitness.
Changing rules, Joe.
Okay, will that be done for fitness staff as well?
We have a procedure to follow. I can't speak to what's happening at fitness. This is a change that putting something in place that we don't currently have.
I see.
And anytime we impose new rates, period, we have to go through the public hearing process. It's not difficult, it's just a question of some proper advertising and having.
I see, but I guess my question, and then I'll hand this back to Keith, is, and I'll say this at the public hearing, is that why aren't we just doing it the same? Why are we overcomplicating the process? Why don't we just do it the same way we're doing for the fitness stuff? Just bump it up for the hours that they're doing the work. Isn't that simple?
I think we have some legalities that we have to follow, Jill. We do it.
I understand.
We do it all the time, so.
Okay, I get it.
That's the way it's gonna be.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
Thank you.
Andy, let me ask the question. So I don't want to be confused about this. Is there a difference? She's not talking about fees that residents pay for something. She's talking about rates that we pay employees, or Vesta pays employees.
Sometimes residents pay for those classes.
Not anymore.
No, there are some classes that residents pay for, if they're special classes.
No, they don't anymore.
Well, it's my understanding, I mean,
Ask Jill, she's on the committee.
if Vesta wants to change a rate that they're paying an employee from $5 to $6 or
Right.
whatever it is, they can do that, no problem.
Right,
But what we're doing here is we're imposing a fee.
that's not what she's saying.
Okay, but that's what we're doing here, right? Is we're imposing a fee? Isn't that what Rudy is proposing? Maybe I'm missing something,
No,
but.
that's
imposing a
different,
fee-
no, different subject.
Okay,
What he's proposing, yes. What
Okay.
Jill's talking about is just paying the instructors a larger hourly fee.
And that's in the budget currently. There's a line item.
you can
in
do
the
that.
Budget or
for
not,
that.
I mean, it's an employee thing. Are they employees of Vesta?
Yes. They're contractors under
Yeah,
Vesta.
so that's not a rule change.
No, it's not.
no, that's not a
The
rule.
rule change is charging a setup fee, which we don't currently have.
Right,
That's plain and simple what we have to deal with in changing a rule. We're gonna impose likely a setup and tear down fee.
right, so I'm.
Different subject.
Okay,
Yes,
That's a fee change.
Right.
Yeah.
What Jill is talking about is not.
Right.
It's no different than
Well, so
Vesta
maybe-
paying the
maybe I
wait
missed-
staff another
maybe
dollar an
Maybe I
hour.
missed Jill's question and I apologize. But I think that, okay, so we're, Rudy's memo, we're gonna charge $25 setup fee
Yeah,
for
that's
your
a,
event.
that's a fee
Okay,
change.
we're gonna go through the rulemaking process.
Yes.
Now, what is the separate question?
What Jill is talking about is just paying the employees a more of an hourly fee. It's a payroll question.
That's something that, right, the best they can do,
Yeah, that's the distinction I'm making.
absolutely.
Okay, well,
Okay, I
just want to
guess,
make sure we're on the same page.
I guess we're on the same page. Took a while to get there, but I think we're on the same page.
You wanted to say something, Jimmy?
Yes, please. I apologize, I didn't sign in. Just 1 minute for Bill and the board. While I don't necessarily have the metrics that you were asking for, I thought there would be an opportunity to let you all know some interesting stats in an unprecedented labor market. This report was pulled 4 days ago from recruiting, and since January 1st, 319 resumes have been sent to the River Club. If you can believe it, with still 11 positions open, ranging from 46 server to 17 housekeeping, 55 for food and beverage manager, 25 sous chef, 88 office manager. So, and it goes, the list goes on. Regrettably, only 4 have applied for dishwasher, which was outstanding for a long time. But people may say, well, why the heck can't you fill these spots? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into that, some high expectations, maybe people not qualified, maybe the job description wasn't precise enough, but I just thought I'd share that with you because it's a lot of activity. So I just wanted to
Thank you,
add
Ginger.
to the story.
On that subject, if I may, in the strategic plan, we're asking the amenities company to give us specific metrics on specific things going forward. So that's something that if the plan is adopted, Vesta needs to adopt and start to accumulate that information. I don't know what, as a board, and I know we have public information laws and the like. I think we have to be careful that we don't have 2,000 residents all asking, whether it's Rosetta or Vesta, for information on any and every topic. I don't think we could possibly handle all that. With all due respect to Bill, I think as a board, we're asking for the kinds of things you're asking, and we should be collecting and following and budgeting and all the rest on metrics and statistics. I don't know what the rule is, Rich, about any and every resident asking anybody and everybody for information like that.
They're entitled to it.
Through freedom of information, they are
Public records.
public records.
Yes.
If the information is
Well,
available.
it's not public record at this point because they're not tracking it yet.
Well, right, you don't
Once they
have
start
to,
tracking it,
you don't have to create a record.
right.
So if someone says, give me a summary of, everybody who ate at the River Club Friday evening, okay? If you have that document, then you would need to provide it, but you do not need to create a document that it doesn't already exist.
And that's the distinction I'm making. There are certain metrics we do want them to start tracking, and that will be available to anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can just respond to everybody's.
Can't just, as Andy just said,
Yeah.
if we don't have it, we're not obligated to provide it. If we do have it, we are obligated to provide it. What we're asking for moving forward is that certain things become available, then we're obligated to provide it.
That's fine.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we're gonna close out public comment at this time and move forward with our agenda. The next item on the agenda are the staff reports. Rick, you're up first.
The first thing I got on the agenda is the summary of the Hvac restoration work. The bids were due Friday. I believe the thing was in your package to show you what was going to be in there, but these are the bids. And we got 2 bids. I was kind of hopeful. I did another community and I was getting 4 bids on some stuff. So it was encouraging to me, but with this one, we got the 2 bids. This is basically the lakes up off of Bella Vista, a pretty intense work with that one, including landings. And then there's 2 other lakes. We've got parts of the lake to fill in some plant gaps. So what you're looking at, the 2 bids, D'Angelo, which was the old Aquagenics, they were the low bid at $23,139. Cross Creek Environmental come in at $31,181.
Okay. Belinda and I were just discussing, obviously you recall at the other CDD at Greyhawk, how D'Angelo went out of business, or Aquagenics, whatever they called themselves, sort of left them in a lurch. And are they back? Do we have a comfort level that they're going to be able to perform this contract?
Well, Aquagenics, they went out of business. There were 2 brothers, I believe, and they just closed up the shop. So the employees, they pretty much split into 2 companies. One's called the Admiral, which was handling a lot of the work up in Manatee and down in Sarasota. The company, the employees, they banded back together and they formed this company. So these are people that have done the work. It was just the ownership decided to close up the doors, and I think they were from North Carolina or someplace, but the employees are back, and it's the same people I had been dealing with. So I mean, with this kind of the job, I anticipate they would do the work, then we would pay them. So there really isn't much of a money.
Cross Creek was the company that we used previously. We have used Cross Creek.
Cross Creek, we used a bunch. Aquagenics, don't know if Aquagenics has done anything for Venetian, but I've had them on many other
They
projects.
did an adequate job?
Yes, it did.
I'm a little unclear. Is this just pond 16 or 16, 15?
15 and 16, and then
48?
there's 2 other.
49?
40, it's either 48 or 49, and then there's a little piece down on the lake by
58?
Yeah,
So it's all of them that you showed us in here?
that's correct.
This is all?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
all right. It doesn't, I don't think it says it on here.
I think I just did the linear footage. Yeah.
Okay, just so I know. Okay.
And this money is in Lake Bank restoration, is in reserves?
Correct. You have a $40,000 annual allowance.
Okay.
Rick, why is it the sod per unit cost so different with these two companies?
Cross Creek sod price has always been higher than what I thought it should be. I just had them on another project, they bid $9 on that, the item, and they lost the bid by, like $100 or something like that, so I don't know, I have no idea. It's, sometimes they hire these companies that come in and they just blow it out. Sometimes they'll use their own people and maybe that's the difference. But yeah, I've seen that price go all the way up to $9, which I don't understand that.
It's 3 times the amount of the D'Angelo, so.
Well, maybe that's why their price is $8,000.
Well, and D'Angelo can perform, you feel you're comfortable with their performance or ability to perform, I should say?
Yes, yes.
But also, we're not paying until it's done.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
Who's gonna do the watering? What, and where does the watering come from? I'm clear on that.
Well, this includes 10 watering events. And then hopefully it should establish, because we try to do it maybe 3 times a week. We got the rainy season coming up, so by then we should get the rains. Now, a lot of these areas, I believe they could just adjust sprinkler heads to pick up a lot of that, because there's some pretty good St. Augustine sod, so that typically means it's being.
All right, so there's no irrigation to be put in to do this?
No.
And some of these areas aren't covered by the existing irrigation?
For those 2 lakes up there, I believe they could adjust them. Is anybody is here from 15 or 16? Okay.
I'm from 15, I don't know that, I've never been awake when it's on, I don't know.
We can get with LMP, make sure that those, and the homeowners that's behind where that's being done, and just check with them and make sure and see if we could, adjust those for a period of time until it gets old. And usually that's not too big of an issue to get that done.
Well, and you can water more frequently when you put down new sod.
Yes, sir.
How long would it take to do the job?
I have to get with them. My guess is this is a week to 2 weeks.
And you don't have a starting date?
No.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from D'Angelo.
Subject to preparation of an
Yeah,
agreement by
Rick-
district
Rick and I will
council.
prepare the contract.
second.
And if you want to give me $24,000, just in case there's any unknowns that come up.
Not to exceed 24,000?
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I did send out the district engineer update, so I think if I got that. One of the items that I did not include that, one of the things we talked about at the last meeting was how many lakes do we have that have decorative grasses? So Caleb went through and she identified from the Google aerial, so we didn't drive it a look. But what we saw from the Google, there's 26 lakes that still have some decorative grasses, and she computed roughly 20,000 linear feet. So if we want to change all that out, the price to change it out is probably going to be at least $25 a foot. So we're talking about $500,000. Now, some of it's not an issue, but if we wanted to, I'm just throwing it out that's about the cost it would be to change it out to grass. So if you wanted to consider that for budget and you want to do so much.
So much a year over a number of years.
Right, right. But that's the approximate. And that's really all I had, unless you got anything else for me.
I happened to look at a couple of the, where you had the guy put the product on top of the
Posts.
fences or fence posts. Looks phenomenal. I don't know how long it'll last, but boy, it sure looks good in both locations I happen to see.
Well, that'd be
That was
staff.
Keith's guy.
Did that.
Yeah.
That was staff, yeah, and that's, yeah, up in Water Lake, which was the community WCI did just before they come here, use the exact same post, non-standard sizes for everything, for the post, for the railing, and we had to replace some of that because it just got really, really bad. And it's very expensive to buy a couple bags of that stuff, and it looks like it's going to work, so I was very happy with that too.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions for Rick?
Showtime is the May 17th.
I'll meet you there about 1 o'clock, so 1:15.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, give me time.
Yeah, I'll just follow up with you.
Okay.
Supposed to meet with Sandy.
Okay,
Sandy's here.
she's in the back.
She's in the back. Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay.
And other board members can
Oh, she
attend,
was.
just not speak.
Correct.
Okay. I'll find her.
Andy, do you have anything to report?
Just one item. At the last meeting, Rudy asked me a question about president's birthday list, and I said I would do some quick research on that. I did not find anything that would lead me to believe that it wouldn't be a public record. So I believe that if we have a list that we maintain with residents' birthdays and someone asks for a copy of that list, it is a public record.
Okay, thank you.
Really, it's just a month, not the date.
It doesn't say the year.
Okay, so it just says June 22nd or whatever.
Just June, I believe that's.
No, it
No,
has
that's
the date.
Did it have the date?
Oh, but not the date of birth.
Not the year, right, that's what I'm going
Not the
with.
year.
I could Google that pretty quick anyway. So that's the only item I had. I'm glad to answer any questions.
I note that there was some increase that you were.
Yeah, that's further down, that's further down the
Yes,
agenda. I can do it now if you'd like.
Yeah, would you please?
Sure. We have, with our engagement letter from the beginning of, it's the beginning of time with this district, we have a CPI built in to our hourly rate. And typically in years past, that CPI hasn't been significant, but we all know what the status of things are in the world right now. So that CPI is actually 7.9% this year. But in recognition of our longstanding relationship with Venetian, and really firm-wide, what we've decided to do is not take the full CPI this year. And so what we're proposing is a 5% increase for Venetian. And I just did some rough calculations. Based on the usage of the attorney over the past year, if the projections stay in the same vicinity, it would be about a $3,500 impact annually.
Divided by 1377, very much.
So,
Well, I think that we rely on you at every one of these meetings for your expertise, and you haven't led us down the wrong road. And
I'll try.
And I have no problem. I think it's a reasonable ask, and I would make a motion that we accept the increase as stated.
Second.
Yeah, I would echo Richard's statements. You're reasonable. You're quite an experience. You provide extensive skills to us. And I would gladly support the increase. It's quite reasonable, I think, at that rate.
Thank you.
And I have a question.
Yes.
So all the emails and calls I make to you, how do those get billed?
I keep track of my time and we bill, and I bill it.
Okay, so you accumulate it over a month period or
Yes,
so?
we bill monthly on 30-day intervals, usually around the first day of the month or in that vicinity.
You do time slips, probably.
Well, our program is actually called Clio.
Okay.
But yes, we keep track, and obviously the invoices in your agenda packages, and we keep track in detail. But if there's ever any questions about any of my invoices or charges, glad to discuss it.
And so if it's a 10-minute phone call, is there a quarter hour billed, or how does that?
I usually bill on quarter intervals.
So if we speak for 10 minutes, there's a 15-minute charge.
Correct.
How much? Keep going.
My current hourly rate is $267 an hour. With the increase, it will go to $280 an hour.
Quite reasonable, very reasonable. Quite reasonable.
Stay on the phone long.
Okay.
I've been trying to keep them shorter. And the same with emails, you aggregate the email.
Yes, but likewise, if we only talk for 7 minutes, you're not gonna get charged.
Do you?
Because that's I see, okay.
He runs down.
Rounds
I
down.
do.
There'll be 5 minutes from here forward.
I shouldn't have
Kevin,
revealed that
hours
secret.
Well, the reason I'm asking.
I try to
is
be fair,
that
so.
there's been a lot of issues about the tiki hut, there's been some issues about the sunshine laws, and I'll either call Andy or email him, and the rapidity of the answer is tremendous. I mean, you're always, if not that afternoon, the next day for sure. And that helps us out.
So I'm glad.
I'm appreciative of that.
We try to be responsive, our whole firm.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion, it's been seconded.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Andy?
Are we on the clock?
Yeah, let's go. Don't you dare.
Keep it talk.
Rudy, do you have anything else to cover?
No, you've got my report, thank you.
Keith?
Good morning. It's another great day in the land of opportunity. Just a couple quick things. I have a meeting coming up with holiday decorations for our holiday decorations out front. Is there anything that you want me to bring up, talk to them about? I haven't seen that there's going to be an increase, but I'm kind of, with everything else, I'm kind of, expecting that to come up a little bit. But is there anything else that you would like to see, not see, more of the same? I thought it was
They did a
pretty
good job last year.
Yeah, I'd say more of the same.
More of the same. Okay, great.
Can they get the green at the top of the palms to match the green pea that'll be across?
Let me put
Make a
that,
note.
make a note of that, match the green pea. Okay, got it. We had put some signs up down at the park, down at the end for, no trespassing. And then if you go all the way down through the park, you come back around, we put some more up in there. And there were some, we put 2 up, and somebody really liked them. And so they have them probably on their wall at home. And so they've, so I went, well, let's cement them in. Well, they liked them even more. So we're not gonna put any more signs down there for someone to decorate their walls. But the flowers that we did plant some on the driving or the park side, the parkway, and that seems to be kind of helping a little bit more there. Now they've made another path, so we're gonna have to, try to maybe plant some more, but I'm, fencing that off down in there is not we can't do. All right, we'd have to tear everything out to put a fence up, and that would just leave everything open and there at the park. And
Judge Booker had suggested we put a sign there that says "Go home."
Only if you act as Santa Claus for Christmas.
They don't steal the alligator signs.
No.
The alligator signs are further down, and those are still there.
yeah, they must like the Venetian sign because, this is Venetian property.
Bring the
So,
alligators in the vicinity.
you got my email about the 4 cul-de-sacs being done. Go by and take a look at them. They're tremendous, I think. I did get a quote from Immaculate Exteriors and I just got it over the weekend. So it's It's right at $46,565 to do all the sidewalks and the gutters in the Venetian. If that's,
Does that include the sidewalks in the condos that are?
yeah, all the sidewalks within the Venetian and gutters. Okay. And that's,
Is that ceiling? Ceiling also?
Yeah,
No.
Keith, we really, please don't shut out. We're not open for public comment. Yeah.
It's not clear.
Keith, point of information, Rick's comment. We pay for power washing the sidewalks throughout the condo areas?
no, we're not paying anything for it now, because we're not doing it. They
When we
do it
do it.
themselves.
Do we do it?
No, we don't do it. In the condos? No, we don't power wash.
You said, does that include the condo?
Well,
The bid does.
the bid,
The bid does.
if they did it. If they're gonna do all the sidewalks, they better do the sidewalks in the condos
In the
too.
condos. would
But
change
they
that.
are not sidewalk, they're pavers instead of the cement sidewalks.
Yeah, it's just pressure washing and cleaning.
Keith, I just confirmed with Steve that the house that you looked at, item number 5, 105 Loretta, there's nobody living in that house.
Oh, one next, yeah.
Utility shut the power off.
So there's no, that's the reason you don't have lights, there's no power.
Okay.
And
Check that off the list.
I think it's fair to say that POA is working on that issue.
Yeah, they've been working on that issue with that house for quite a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while since the owner passed away.
Well, in a little fairness to the POA, the roof just got power washed, and that's a positive thing.
Since we do have Keith reporting supervisors, do we want to move into item number 6A, which is the consideration of the Metro PSI proposal for the new pump, which is behind tab number 4 for your review?
Which pump is this?
Okay, there's two wells that we have that actually anything that gets done with them is we split with the golf course. And this is right behind, I think it's hole number 10. And so that is, we pump out of that into the big pond. And then there's another one down by the pump house that we pump out of that into the pond. And the way it's supposed to work is one day you pump out of one, next day you pump out of another. You don't want to just be constantly pumping out of one per SwiftMud's guideline. So that one behind 10 has been down for a while. And I think that Lennar
Knew it?
Well, they had to know it. And rather than spend any money, because they weren't spending any money, just kind of let it go for a while. Well, you know, their Heritage is trying to do the right things and get things up and running and doing right. So this pump is.
So this $17,000 quote, that's half the price of it?
Correct. I talked with, at the beginning, I mean, it looks very expensive, and it is. I've had a Jerry Jasper is all Mr. Pump and irrigation stuff. I think in the encyclopedia, his picture's right there when you look in irrigation. And so, I call on him quite, and he, at the first, he said, then he started looking at it, and he went, it's probably about the right price. I do have another pump company coming on Wednesday to also give a quote for it. I'm suspecting that it's going to be similar.
Okay. And this money would come from?
Reserves.
Okay, we have enough in there for it.
Well, this is actually more than what you have there, because this one, I'm not sure if this is a 30 horsepower pump or not, but that is something that we'll have to.
This is a 15 horse.
So the allowance in there is, it's not a lot, but.
And this 17, this is our half, or?
That's our half,
Or
correct.
we'll be paying 8,500, yeah, so the pump is 34,000.
Correct.
Okay.
They were doing some work on that about 3 weeks ago. They had a crane in there, they were.
Yeah, we were seeing what the problem was, and we had to have it pulled. And that happens to be an artesian well. So it's, but it has to be regulated and controlled, so.
So I'll make a motion then that we accept the Accept the bid from Metro?
Not to exceed.
But and if I get a lesser, I'll talk with Heritage and
Okay, so, not to exceed 17.1.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
He does,
Thank you.
don't.
Keith, did you have anything else?
Don't,
no,
don't go.
don't go.
I
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. I want to
Yep.
ask. The status of the tennis room, the contract has been signed, so we're waiting on Eric to get the plans to the city.
Okay,
Well, I'm asking.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm,
You signed
I
the
signed,
contract.
I
Okay.
signed the contract, yeah.
I got a message to Eric, so I will follow up on it. He was going to have somebody draft the plans. We told him basic plans is basically get them into the city. So there will be a cost for that, and we'll worry about the cost later, but I'm gonna tell him to continue to proceed.
Yes.
Okay.
oh yeah, the POA is biting the bit, and rightfully so. I mean, the golf course has been, very, they've opened their doors to them, and now they're getting more staff in, and they're needing that space that they're occupying. So the quicker we can get it.
Okay, I'm assuming the contract we signed with him, did we send him some money because he wants 10% down? And I'm assuming that document won't cover the cost of the plans that are gonna have to be developed. He's gonna have to hire a licensed engineer to stamp those plans, so there's gonna be a cost associated with that. And I don't know what that cost is.
I did submit an invoice for processing for the deposit.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
I did submit an invoice for processing for the deposit,
so he wants 2,500 thereabouts?
more or less.
Yeah, thereabouts, okay. All right, so, Rich, you had it.
Well, my question was, how do we go about billing the POA for this,
I would suggest we just send one bill
once it's done?
once it's.
So we're gonna cover it for right now,
Yes.
and then we're gonna,
Okay.
Yes.
then we're gonna.
All right, so I'll follow up with him on where those plans are. And make sure, and I'll get a price from him.
And we'll keep the POA aware of what these costs are.
Okay,
Yeah, he had a $2,500 allowance for drawings and building
he
permits.
does have it in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's.
That's part of the 21.6.
Okay, so it's in there, okay.
Cool.
All right, so I'll follow up as to where he is. Second question is, has there been a contract signed for the landscaping modifications and pavers out at the pool area?
No, I haven't signed anything.
Okay, where are we with that?
Well, we haven't, to my knowledge, it hasn't been tearing all of that out, really hasn't been stamped because it had to go back it went to a committee.
Right.
And then the committee voted, and then the landscape committee agreed with it. And so I think needs to come back to you all to say, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go with that process. Okay,
Last meeting.
we did, okay.
Right,
Well, then we just need to get it with LMP and,
Yeah, we don't usually do
we
a
don't-
separate contract with LMP because they're under contract with us. So
Well,
we just have
the
a
reason I'm
proposal.
so curious is I want Eric to come over here and meet with LMP so we can coordinate whatever has to be done, so we're not doing rework.
Yep, I agree.
But as far as the pavers, we may.
All right,
an
so
agreement there.
while we're on that subject, there's perhaps an opportunity. There's been complaint after complaint about that gate out there.
3 gates, right?
Well,
The entry gate.
the entry
Yeah,
gates.
keep slamming.
Yeah.
And you can't get in.
All right, do we want to take care of that while we're doing all of this?
Yeah.
Please.
That whole gate system, not just at the front entrance of the pool, but at the side entrances here,
Yeah.
going out by the gym and that area up there
Yeah, this-
they're terrible. They need to be.
The reason I'm asking is that there's been some early discussion about having to open that up some more to be able to get the equipment in there. So maybe there's some value and saving a few dollars if we do this gate thing simultaneously. I'm kind of guessing.
That's a good point.
I don't know the answer, but I don't want to rework. I don't want to do a bunch of rework.
Well, how about if we find out from Eric and from LMP, what kind of space they need?
Okay, all right, so.
If the gate that's there is adequate space, maybe we should, the safe thing might be to wait until they're finished.
Right, no, I'm with you. But I can almost guarantee you that he's got a track.
Oh, yeah, that gate, that middle part's probably gonna have to come out. Just to get the backhoe and,
But you're right, I agree.
All right, so I'm gonna just do some inquiry. I'm not gonna do anything. And I'll come back at a future meeting and say, hey, here's some options.
And one of the things that causes that gate going into the pool to constantly be repaired is the slamming of it.
Slamming, yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's another application we could use there, if we could use a sliding gate rather than one that opens out.
I don't know.
If that's a possibility, to eliminate the constant slamming, we'll put a closer on or a slow closer.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't bang over.
Well, let me talk to him a
Yeah,
little.
but that's a mechanical, and then it's gonna cost, maybe cost prohibitive.
well, I mean, right now, it's, you've got your card you gotta have to go in there and it clicks. And so I think we can put a thing on it to not make it slam. So I'll check with our gate guy.
So, one more thing, so are we in agreement then that the 27,000 or whatever the number is, we can proceed with on the landscaping portion? Is that all settled amongst us?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right, okay. I just want to make sure, and so I'll work with Keith on, we'll get the right people here and we'll coordinate the scheduling of it. Okay.
It's really not landscaping though, it's removal.
Removal.
Yeah, because there's not one new plant going in that I'm aware of. Which is fine.
So I'm with you. I just don't want him to do rework.
Right, absolutely.
That's all okay, I know what to do.
Any other questions for Keith?
The opener for the front door.
Yes. So I had to have the ADA or the door opener guy come back out. My concern was that when we turn on the fans in the kitchen, okay, it sucks air all the way through. And that 1,000-pound door becomes 2,000 pounds. So he came out and he goes, Keith, we turned on the fans, and he went, nope, can't do it. And so he went back here and looked, and he said, all you gotta do is open this back door up, and it relieved the problem. So Rudy and his staff, I think that they got with their 360. They're ordering a fan thing to go in the back door, I believe, to alleviate that problem. Okay, so the whistling when that fan comes on and the sucking it'll go away, and it'll calm things down here in the when those fans are on every day, Wednesday through Sunday. So he'll be able to do that. I've got the electricians come out. He's got to crawl up through Rudy's office and run some wires up to that thing. But as soon as that hole gets put in that back door and that vent thing gets put in, then we can move forward with doing everything else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody need a break?
We can take a break. When we come back, can we move the strategic plan up? Because I know that Joe has a time commitment and he's going to do a presentation. So I'd like to move that to the next item when we come back from the break.
Perfect. Okay. So we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
At 10:52 a.m. So the next report is the district manager's report, and the presentation of the registered voter count, which is behind tab number 3 for your review. Every year, we're required to announce, the registered voter count within the district. So as per the Sarasota County Supervisor of Elections, the number of registered voters residing within the Venetian Community Development District as of April 15th was 1,946 registered voters. We do have our budget workshop coming up on May 23rd. This will be at 10 a.m. Okay,
Did you want,
What's one of the date?
May 23rd.
did you want me present?
And blend time again?
10 a.m.
Were you there last time?
No,
No, I guess not.
I don't usually, but I can. It's up to you. That's why I'm asking.
No, do you see a need for Andy to be there? Other than
No.
just
No, it's
notification?
initial, it's a workshop part.
It's a workshop. I mean, it's,
No, we'll get a lot of shots, and we don't.
I got other stuff to do. I'll be
Okay.
Gotta watch that curve.
And that's all I had. Just one brief notification. I did receive a notification now. Mark Hansen has contracted COVID. So the deposition for Jerry Jasper and Rich is continued. Rich, your depositions continue, correct?
No, they finished with me, but I was gonna be there with them. So,
So it's in the process of being canceled and will be rescheduled.
I will then be on the golf course.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's all I had. Any questions for me?
Go ahead, please.
Sure.
That voter count, 1946, aren't we merged or mixed with Willow Chase? Does that take into consideration Willow Chase as well, or did you extrapolate out there?
This is based on the property appraiser specific, I mean supervisor of elections specific residing within Venetian.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Like this with the.
And all we need to do is announce it. We don't need to take any action.
There's no action to be taken. It's just an announcement. Any other questions for me?
No, but because of the budget workshop, and it's gonna be later, I would assume, it's gonna run late.
Exactly.
Rudy, you think we could get some sandwiches or something?
Yeah, we'll make some arrangements.
Thank you very much.
Linda,
Raise the price.
I have one comment and I need some clarification on it. At our last meeting, we talked about committee membership and numbers, whether it's 5 or 7 or whatever. The facilities committee took this up at their last meeting, and they would like to announce to 5 members. They're at 7 now. There are 2 vacancies that I had announced because I didn't know what the end result of that was going to be. So do we have to take any action as a board?
You have to
What does
amend
the charter say? Yeah.
Yeah, the charter, I believe, says
Says
7,
7.
so we
Does
have
say-
to amend the charter.
Okay, so how do we go about
We
it?
would have to put it on the agenda for the next regular meeting. We can amend it then.
Okay. All right.
So you've already taken formal action to make a recommendation to the board that it be 5?
I've done nothing.
Okay.
I'm bringing it up right now.
So maybe the committee then could take a vote to
They did.
recommend.
The committee, it's in the minutes, the committee did take a vote. It was 4-1
To recommend it be 5.
to recommend it.
Okay, then we'll just put it on our agenda to revise the charter now.
Okay.
And the charter does say 7, not up to 7?
I believe it does.
That was,
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
And I think part of the discussion was that they want to give it a try, see how it goes. It's a good committee already, so we won't take any action on the two vacancies. And the 2 vacancies are Lou Perry and Nancy went off.
Okay.
So,
I did receive an intent, just in case you do have a vacancy in the future.
okay. Well, I wanted to get in that announcement because I didn't know the results of how the board was gonna vote.
But if the charter calls, and I don't have the charter in front of me, but if it says up to 7, then we don't
So
need
we
to
don't
do
need to
anything.
make the
No, we
change,
don't
but
need
if it says 7.
It says 7.
Correct.
I think it says 7, but
So Linda can check it, and then it'll be on the agenda if it needs to be. If not, we can
Okay.
just
We had gone through all of those charters a year or so ago and made a lot of made some changes so that they're all similar in certain ways. We may have changed that.
When we set up the Finance Reserve Committee, I remember I'm drafting the charter, we put up to
right.
7, but I think we kept it at 5.
Kept it at 5, correct.
Belinda, could you send me, did we revise all
We did.
Yes.
of them? Because we had put that thing in about the full-time members. Could you
Yes.
send me a copy of the new landscape chart, the revised one, I should say? So I can have it and I can share it with the committee.
Likewise, the racket sports,
I'll just distribute all of them.
all of them.
Yeah. Probably be good.
There you go.
The hottest committee.
You have the popular committee.
Yeah, popular.
Okay.
So we're down to strategic plan?
Before we move on, just as a reminder, if there's any items specific to the budget that you'd like to send me before we have our workshop, please try to get it to me at least 3 or 4 days before, because I plan on bringing printouts and having documents available for review, actual physical copies. We're not gonna work with tablets. So if there's anything, I already have Rick's comments and his recommendations, but I can share those at the meeting, what they were. They're mostly landscape related, but, please send them to me in advance.
But one of the,
Rudy, are you all set for the budget meeting?
Yeah, we're working on the contracts that we talked about with Belinda and proposal for wages adjustments. We're meeting with our team this afternoon also, to discuss some of the things.
I remember from the last year's budget process, I wasn't part of this, but as in the audience, I was frustrated with the fact that you couldn't see prior year numbers, and there was really no projection of the current year. I think you had like 6 months actual, and then you just put in the last 6 months budget
Correct.
to get a total year of the current year. It wasn't really a projection, it was just 6 months actual, 6-month budget.
Okay.
Is that the normal process?
Yes, it is. So our worksheets are based on an annualized actual, but I don't include prior year's numbers. So if that's something that'll amend our entire template, and then I would have to have Vesta work off of an entire amended template. But if you want financial statements, I can bring financial statements for prior years, so we can review as well. But by line
Okay,
item,
I get, if that's available, that's
Yeah.
sufficient.
Would
I
this
probably
be
have
helpful
it.
to everyone? You said that to me, the budget itself.
yeah, that's the adopted package that everybody should have.
You guys have this, right?
From last year.
From
From last year,
Yeah.
yeah. That's fine then. As long as I have a copy of last year's, which I probably have at home.
What is it that you're trying to see? You're
I just
trying
like to
see
compare,
Annualized comparison
because you tend to,
of prior years?
we tend to compare to budget. And I don't like projecting next year off of what this year's budget was, because to me, this year's budget's irrelevant at this point. It's what the actual is likely to be, and how does that compare with the prior year, so I can look, do a trend comparison to say, does it make sense, is it reasonable? So that's just my process. So as long as I have last year's actual somewhere, which I probably do at home, that's
I can have Vanessa probably create something, but it won't be included in your budget worksheet at this point.
okay. I don't want to
We
create
can have
more
a
work.
separate annualized budget comparison via an Excel worksheet if she can pull that, but not included in the format that we currently have, because then Vesta would have to start all over with what they're
Yeah,
working.
no. I don't want to create more work. I just,
Okay,
and I'm not looking for an annualized budget.
okay.
It's okay.
I'll have a conversation with Vanessa, and then maybe she'll give you a call just to understand exactly what you're looking for.
Okay.
And if something comes from that, would you have her just send it to all of us?
I will.
Thank you. And work to item C?
Okay.
Okay.
That me?
That would be you, Ken.
Excellent. So after the last meeting that we discussed this, we had provided a draft of the plan. And the next steps were to go to the 6 CDD committees, to the POA and to the Community Association to get their comments, feedback, suggestions. After that step, we then went to the residents in general. It got sent out on an email blast to all the residents for their input. The result of all of that is all that came back to the committee. The committee met for multiple hours to discuss all of the input. We went resident by resident input because there were only 12. And if you discount the ones that were just talking about how inept the CDD board is, there was even less discussion necessary. Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go back 2 meetings, a meeting ago, when the POA was here, and they were talking about getting involved. In a discussion that happened after that meeting, somebody that viewed it on YouTube, they said, you know why you don't get enough people to run for these positions? Because they don't want to be a target. And there's a great deal of truth in that people don't want to get those nasty emails that we get from time to time. It's not like we get them every day. But I think that's a valid point for why we don't get a lot of people running for these committees. They simply do not want to be a target.
Well, I can understand.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's good input. In that process, I do want to just go back and, first of all, I thanked them at the meeting, but I want to publicly thank the committee because I think collectively they did an outstanding job. It was a great committee to work with. The mix, the discussions, every meeting we met twice a month, starting back in December, I think. Every meeting went at least 2 hours, if not longer. Every attempt was made to dialogue through all of it. Joe Brown was chair, Rich Cotero, Jerry Lewis, Joe Polzak, Joe Pizarro, Julie Shade, Ed Whalen were all on the committee. Everyone contributed to a great extent, and I was so pleased, with the working of the committee. I had not met several of the people who were on the committee before, and they had not served on committees before in a number of instances. Hopefully they'll stay more involved because they did a great job. So the result of all the feedback we got from the committees, from the POA, the CA, and residents is now factored into the red line version that you've gotten. So everything in red or blue are changes from the original draft that you got a couple of meetings ago. And as you can see, it's not substantive. There was one area that, we'll talk about anything and everything in here. The one area that was probably the most substantive for discussion and changes was in the area of security. And that's an area that we had talked about a lot in the regular session before we finished the original draft. And we talked about different levels of security and what our level of security here is. And yet, there's still a lot of confusion among residents as to what we provide. And the term security comes under scrutiny in and of itself. And I handed out an article, Andy, I didn't give you a copy, I'm sorry, Melinda. But an article that Bob Raffato actually linked us to in his comments about association's liability and in using the term security. And this article very much talked about the insistence of always showing a disclaimer in your newsletters and your communications about kind of what we do, what we don't do. And as a result, we changed some of the language in here and went back and looked at the master agreements and the CDD board's policies and couldn't come up with anything that talked about security and a definition of it. So suggesting that the board come up with a privacy policy which then goes on the record, and then we can refer to it in new resident meetings or whenever. But even the comments we got back from a couple of residents about security, the discussion about access behind Bella Vista off of Laurel Road. We're not a walled community, we're a gated community. Even though the privacy patrol, if you would, has the word security in their logo and on their trucks, people don't understand what it is we do and don't do. And the more we can communicate that, I think it's better for, not just for liability, but just so people understand. First thing you should do if there's an issue, call the police. You know, and they expect the security company or the privacy patrol, whatever you want to call them, to respond, and they won't, or don't, or shouldn't.
Or can't.
Or can't, and we can't keep people out.
Right.
As we all know, but a lot of people get confused by all of that. So that was probably the biggest area since the initial draft that came under discussion.
Can we talk about that just a little bit?
Sure.
Why wouldn't we use the word, why do you have the word safety and security? Maybe privacy and security would be better? I'm not sure, you know. have to ask that
Or you
question.
could just say adopt policies stating the extent of its access control, deterrent services. Take out both those words.
Yeah,
'Cause I understand the
again, at this
concern.
point, just to make this point, and I won't speak for you, Joe, but this is what the committee, at this point, the committee feels their work is done, and this is now the board's document.
Right.
So any changes we want to make as a board, this is for us to do.
But it doesn't have to go back to the.
Correct.
Okay.
So that might be, just say, should draft and adopt policies stating the extent of its access control and deterrent services. Just a suggestion.
Do the people at the front gate really provide any security services? In the
Not
classic?
No.
No?
It's privacy service.
Right,
But
but yet
they're-
they wear security.
Well, but that's their company name, their
Right.
company logo. We've had that discussion before.
The car.
One of the things that does is it discourages people who don't know, the outsiders who might come in here, that we have quote security. They don't know what that means, so they
Their
stay the
level
hell
of
out of here.
deterrence. It's a
Yeah, they
deterrence
stay the
of
heck out of
security.
here. Exactly.
Well, right, that's the point.
I think even the police chief at one time has said, and in one of these meetings, I think before I was on the board, that the fact that you have a manned gate keeps people away because they don't want to bother with
Right,
it. They go to the places that aren't manned where they can hop over a fence or whatever.
They keep driving.
Exactly. So there is some positives. So but
It's a
I
deterrent.
totally understand. I mean, I've had people say, why does it say security? And other people want the light to be flashing when the truck, or when the thing drives around, whatever. So
Okay.
I think that's a good, just put a line through safety and
Safety
security
and security,
and just say policies.
Adopt a policy.
Do you agree, Tim?
Yes, good. So you can see the amount of changes is not extensive.
I know, I think when Jill came to the landscape committee, and I remember hearing it before about the empowered committees, is that still in here somewhere?
Yeah.
And I was never really sure what an empowered committee is, or I'd like to.
It's under 6D. The language was intended to strengthen the committee structure. And again, we can call it wishful thinking, we can call it whatever we want, but the intent here is if we want the board meetings to be shorter, if we want more participation, we felt the desire to strengthen the committee structure by having more expertise on the committees. And when they come to us with a recommendation, I mean, unless there's some real reason not to accept it, we should be accepting committee recommendations. they should feel empowered to do the research and make a recommendation under whatever direction they've been given by the board. And then by the time it comes to us, other than having discussion about it and understanding how they got to where the recommendation they got to where they are, we should be either saying we can't afford to do it and not do it, or we should be accepting a recommendation that has been thoroughly vetted. So we're trying to, and the feeling was if the committees had more influence over the board, maybe over time we would get more people with experience in these areas to participate. So we're trying to encourage more expertise. We did take out the word, we talked about utilizing available resident database.
I saw that, yeah.
Because of the discussion we had at the last meeting here, where we didn't want to maintain the database. But yeah, we want to affect an empowered committee system to guide the board.
Do some, I think with the landscape committee, that's what I have, the most action with, that this board has been very good about accepting recommendations that the landscape committee has made, at least in the last couple of years that we've been doing it. I have heard that some of the committees, I think most notably the tennis, has at one time was constantly asking the club manager and tennis pro to provide various information, etc. It was like they were running the tennis and not letting the manager and the pro do their work. I mean, again, I know it's your committee, and some of that went on before you had it. I guess I'm thinking, can this lead to an over-empowerment? Is there such a thing?
There is such a thing.
Yes, okay.
And I would agree with you. And we, in all of our discussions among our committee, we worked hard to keep operational issues out of it, and at a minimum, trying to look at the long range and saying, we have two management companies that we pay to run the amenities, to run our governance side of it, infrastructure. We should let them do it, but provide us the information we need, metrics or whatever, to be able to assess how they're doing. And again, put more responsibility, with them, and have this board only overseeing it.
Right.
As a governance board, in an attempt again not to make these 5-6 hour meetings.
Yeah, and one example I can give you is at the Social and Dining Committee, up until the discussion about the strategic plan, did not feel empowered enough to make a presentation to the board. So what they intend to do is that occasionally, Linda Cotero, the chairperson, is going to make a presentation of what we're thinking in the Social and Dining Committee and recommendations that we would like to make. So it's given them the idea that they want to do that, and that's what they're going to do in the future.
At the last board meeting, one of the things that came up was, we used to have reports from the various committees. And I brought that up because we haven't done it. COVID stopped us from doing that to a degree, but we really should return to that and have representation from the various committees telling us what's going on, so that we know that it's documented, that it's on YouTube and everything else. It's for the good of the whole community.
But there's liaisons. There's one of us on each committee. I don't understand why the committee has to come and do that. Either one or the other, I would say.
One or the other has to happen, and that has happened in the past. There were times when I gave the report from the social committee because no one else could be there. But what we've stopped doing is getting reports and updates of what's going on a monthly basis from these committees, and I think we have to get back to that.
Are you looking for some more comments or?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I may, I have a couple of questions. Under 4D2, respective committees with setting user standards, benchmarks. I guess I'm I know what it means, but I'm having some difficulty understanding how you're gonna operationalize that.
So this gets back to, it's both here and I think it's in another place on the, well, maybe this is it. We're asking, in this case, Vesta or the amenities management company to give us the user metrics we've been talking about so that we can set a baseline to see over time, over multiple years, you know, is the operation getting better or not? So between the surveys up in A1 and the metrics we get for measurement purposes, when we give an annual performance review to the amenities company or to the property management company, we'll have a metrics-based measurement.
Is that not what B1 does?
Yes.
So,
One sets up the cumulative reports. The reports then go back to the respective committees for tracking, discussion, you know, ways to improve participation, if that's the intent. But we felt that it starts with the metrics go to the committees advise the board.
So you're gonna tell the pool and fitness committee they have to have 20 members at every class? I mean, I don't
I'm not gonna
understand.
tell them anything.
Well, how do you operationalize this? How do you, it says,
Okay, in that example,
it's setting user benchmarks. That's what I'm getting at. I don't have I understand the rest of it, but
if we're getting 5 people in a fitness class.
Yep.
And we're paying for those classes.
Yep.
If we're tracking those metrics and the fitness committee would come back and say, we shouldn't even be running a class with 5 people. It's costing us, you know, $80. And we're not charging people anything for it. It's an expense. Do we want to keep doing that? Well, the fitness committee now has data to go by, and then they may come back with a recommendation saying, we need to be charging $5 a class to cover the cost of this because we're not getting enough participation. And you know what? If we can get participation up to 15 people, we only need to charge $2 a class. So it's information that the committees now have to have discussion and form opinions about. Right now, we have no information.
Okay.
That's the intent.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's go to number 5. The CDD board will consider alternative structures for third-party management of CD assets. Talk about that.
Okay.
It's B1.
Yep. So again, the feeling of the discussion we had about this was we need to be looking at over time. You know, again, this is a multi-year plan. So over time, as situations change, do we want to consider alternate structures of how we manage the community? So this could be, it gets back to analyzing Vesta. Are they doing a good job and how do we do it? If that's not an alternative, are there other structures we want to consider? And again, we don't know the answer. We're just suggesting the possibility. Are there things how we can get the POA more involved so that we're turning maybe some of the amenities over to the POA to operate? Are there opportunities with the golf club to start merging activities and uses of facilities and amenities that work for them and work for us and overall lower the combined costs? They're just thoughts that were thrown out there to say we have a certain structure that we've used for a decade or more. As the opportunities and circumstances permit, should we be thinking out of the box more?
Okay. Last comment, under 6A, where it says increase attendance at CD meetings. By
More crises.
well, by 5%, by 10 members? I mean, how do you increase? What do we want to increase to?
Well, that's up to the
Well,
board.
should we say a percentage, or how do you measure whether you've been successful or not? What's the standard for success?
Well, again, we can go back and look at, right now, we can see how many people view the YouTube videos. In fact, I went back this morning and looked at the last several, and we average between 40 and 80. And I think last summer during COVID, we were up to over 100, which is great. But as you can see, we started today with about 20. We're down to about 8.
The number that you give, that's who's watching it as it's live. But does that number, there's 3 right now? Does that number, I mean, there are people that may watch this based on emails that I get. Some people don't watch it until Wednesday or Thursday.
You can go later and see how many viewed.
So the number that you're citing, 40 or whatever that number is
views, not live.
That's views, not live right now.
It includes the live, but it includes later.
But as people look at it on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, that number, okay.
Again, Steve, the intent was not to set a number. The feeling was, if you want more community input and having 6 people here.
I agree.
I'm a little frustrating.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm trying to figure out, how do I measure there was an increase? That's what I'm getting.
Well, he did it last week, more crisis, right? More
Well,
crisis.
Well, and the other thing is, when you look at the audience, there's 3 or 4 people or 5 people that come to every meeting. They just come to every meeting, and that's their interest. So we want other people to come.
You don't want us to come?
No. I'm happy you come. It's not a criticism about you coming.
Yeah, I know.
We want others to come.
We see new faces though. We do, we see new faces. We see the regulars, more or less. But we see new faces, which is always good to see.
But to Rick's point, maybe the fact that they're not here means there's no controversy.
Well,
so maybe that's a good thing. So maybe the goal should be to have nobody come. This can be whatever you want it to be. This is our document.
You know, if we weren't putting it on YouTube, I'd say, boy, we really have a problem. But the fact that it's on YouTube, and people have that access and have it on their own terms, they don't have to, you can't. But working people can't see it. Well, they can see it when they get home from work.
And you can skip ahead on it. You can view what you want to view.
Right. So
I
would think we're in trouble if it weren't for that. But I think the fact that we have that option now, and we're obviously going to continue that option, that we're in a lot better shape.
The other thing
If you recall, when we were strictly on Zoom, we did have a lot of participation, but that's because it was during the COVID
And we're
era.
mandated by the government, right?
The efficiency of meetings, and I think they're better now than they had been. We're not doing 4-hour meetings and 5-hour meetings. So nobody has that much time in their day. But if the meetings are 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that, I think it makes it more palatable.
I do think we slid back in the visitors' comments, and we're talking back and forth, and those discussions are getting longer and longer. There was a time when we just accepted what the people had to say and moved on with the meeting. Now we engage.
Well, sometimes there's a need for an answer.
Sometimes there's a miscommunication.
Steve brought this up a couple of years ago, and I think he was right on the money with it. Do we ever answer these folks' questions? And sometimes there is a need for an answer, because a question is asked, when is that pickleball meeting going to be? Well, that requires an answer. And in other cases, it's setting the record straight on something, because it's someone brings up something that's incorrect. It happens from time to time. It happens frequently. Well, this is the reality. This is what it really was. So, but
if we're talking about longer meetings, that's one of the things that adds to the length of the meeting.
Well, that's incumbent upon us to be aware and not to just drone over.
That's why I brought it up.
Those hearing aids are really working, I'm telling you.
That's my comments.
No, I appreciate it.
No,
Again, this whole section
I-
6 was intended to try to get more resident engagement.
Yeah.
If it's not successful, then the residents are telling us they don't care.
Rudy, this puts a lot of burden on the management, this document.
Yeah, it's, there's a model in the club industry, and most successful clubs look at three particular approaches. One is to have a sound governance model, and it starts, that's the foundation. The other is to have a keen understanding of the regulatory and legislative issues that impacts the business on an ongoing basis. And the third has to do with the relevant matrix with respect to the financial performance and also the key performance indicators, which are non-financials, but it certainly sets a standard on how management should perform. So those are the three things that, from an operator's perspective, that's what I look at.
The other thing, and I know there's no answer to this, but one of the reasons we're inefficient in doing our business is the sunshine laws. You know, all the emails that we get, if I had the liberty, I would call one of you and say, hey, are you answering this? Or here's what I'm, and we can't do that. So we become inherently inefficient.
I often wonder how many times we, all five of us, say something different.
I agree.
That's the way it goes.
Well, that also gets it back to the alternate structure discussion. Is somewhere down the road, is there an opportunity to do away with the CDD?
No.
No.
Well, if Elon Musk gave us $14 million, could we get away from the CDD?
We'll research it.
Back to your comment, though, about KPI, key performance indicators. Again, one of the things that we tried to build into this was the fact that we want them. We don't really have them. They need to be documented and looked at on a periodic basis, so we can measure going forward. A, are the two companies meeting the indicators, and B, are they improving? Are they staying the same? Are they slipping behind? Are they improving? So, I mean, you hit a spot on. I don't think this document overburdens either management company. It just asks them to do what we want them to do. You know, I'm hoping you've read it. I don't know how you feel about how it affects us.
This is, I'm looking at the changes, and I think from my perspective, I need to study it a little bit more. I think it's the right course of action and the right approach. I am concerned about Ms. McCaffrey's comment about the burden that it places, and if, to a certain extent, it interferes with the day-to-day, running of the club. Purely from the resident experience perspective. But those are things that.
But maybe you need to have the systems in place that captures a lot of this so it doesn't interfere. And if we don't have those systems, then we need to get them. And you need to come back to us and say, I need a different point of sale system that captures this usage or that usage, or I don't know.
Yeah, to your point, these businesses today are data-driven.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information that you would be receiving from your management company will indicate those trends and gives you the ability to analyze those trends and make informed decisions. But it has to be data-driven.
Right.
And a study needs to be made to determine whether or not those systems are appropriate to our business today. Operationally, we struggle, as you know, with our technology. So that's a question that we need to address.
But again, this is a multi-year plan. I'm assuming that over time, these are the kinds of things you're going to be looking at.
Sure.
And determining. We used to be able to get a lot of this information. How the staff got them, don't know, but the data is in there somewhere. It has to be gleaned out, and maybe there's a better system, a better way to do it. But a lot of the things that are in here are available. They just, somebody's gotta figure out how to get them.
Yeah, part of that challenge has to do with, you've got a number of different technology partners involved in your business. So there isn't a seamless integration between the different vendors involved. I think if you need to get timely, accurate information with a set standard that you can program and design so you know what the outcome will be, that's one way to go. You've got at least 4 technology partners involved in this business today, so it becomes a little complex.
Well, they
But
don't
it can be
necessarily have to be
streamlined.
integrated.
But it can be streamlined to a certain extent.
Sure. But you've got a fob system to get into the fitness center. So every time somebody taps it, you know somebody's going in there. So that information's got to be available somewhere if you want to know how much usage the fitness center is getting. Dining experience. When I go to a restaurant, I can look at my bill. It tells me how many are in the party. So I know 4 people were eating at that table. That's got to be in the system somewhere, that all the tables collectively had 160 people.
Yeah, and that basic information is
Yeah.
there. That basic information does exist. It's the idea of taking the data that's available to you and building a financial plan. Can you take the data and look at it over any period of time and say, these are the assumptions that I can make with respect to what the following year's budget will be, in terms of the number of people that you're serving, in terms of the seasonality. Those types of things are very important to have. I'm not, at this point, quite sure if that information is available. Certainly, the basic information is there, and there's different levels of information.
Right. But you got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
So we're just saying that, again, over the coming months, and I think we even said by the end of the year, there's words, language in there, but we just got to start doing this. It's just the good way to run a business.
You're preaching to the choir.
I know. I need more members in the choir.
Can you have, your title is 2022 to 24, is that the assumption that it'll be revised or looked at again in 24?
We said every 3 years, so 22, 3, 4.
Okay.
And it's a living document, anything can be revised at any time.
I assume that was all.
Ken, I just want to say thank you to you and to your committee. You did a really, you took on a major task and in a relatively short period of time, fine-tuned the document for us. And I think you and your committee did a great job with it.
Thank you. I think they did. I'm going to make a motion that we accept the strategic direction 2022 to 24 as modified.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Joe, your work here is done.
We're dismissed.
Get out of here.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Did they spell your name correctly on here?
Okay, so moving forward with our agenda, supervisors, the next item on the agenda is item number 7A, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on April 11, 2022. These are behind tab number 6 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have no additional changes.
If there are no changes, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Is there a second? Ken? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now have the consent items. We do have the acceptance of advisory committee meeting minutes for landscaping, meeting held on March 7th, reserve study, March 21st, social and dining, March 9th, and strategic direction, April 12th.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Supervisor requests or comments? Are there any supervisor requests or comments?
Yeah, I do. The finance committee is meeting next Monday, and you're going to be there, and I'm not. so that you don't break any of the sunshine laws. Okay? Just for the benefit of the rest of the supervisors, in a conversation with Ginger Anzalone in person and then by email, Vesta wants to put forward Rudy as a candidate for general manager of the River Club. And that comes with some considerations for us. There are some financial considerations there, because one of the questions I asked Ginger was, knowing that Rudy's salary is currently supplemented by Vesta, what happens? We would take 100% of the salary here. And because it's a board decision in terms of who becomes general manager, we get to, if you'd like to interview or whatever, we all know Rudy. But maybe there would be a need for many of us to want to spend a half an hour talking to him about things that are on our mind before any sort of decision is made. And I don't know, again, with sunshine laws in mind, I don't know what your feelings are. You know, personally, I like Rudy. I think Rudy is doing a good job. I don't always have the same feeling about the company that he represents in some ways, but things are getting better. Ken, your financial questions, are you satisfied?
Much more so.
Much more so? Things are moving along?
Yes.
I had a phone call at home from a vendor who wasn't getting paid. And I know that's a sore issue with some of the residents, going back to my comments maybe in January or so. But I had a phone call a week or so ago from a company that said, hey, we haven't gotten our check. I contacted Rudy that evening. The next day they had a check. So in my mind, there still might be some financial things that could be a little bit better.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it came to me.
Yeah.
I thought it was a solicitation phone call, actually. And I was my normal brusque self with this guy. And then I realized, wait a minute, he's talking about something that I do know something about. He did get paid. Anyway.
Do we know why he didn't get paid on time?
I don't know why he didn't get paid on time. He was about a month late, I think. About a month late or so.
Yeah, he had submitted 2 invoices, and the first invoice was approved, and he got paid the first invoice. I think he was anticipating the entire invoice for both periods would get paid at one time, but within 24 hours, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it did.
Resolved that.
And I will say that I contacted Rudy that night. He was on it right away. And next day he called me back and said, I got the guy's check here. And he's going to pick it up when he comes in.
But neither one of you should have to do that. I mean,
Well,
vendors, that's not part of your job description.
I'm bringing it up because it happened.
I understand.
And the only way that you'd be aware of it would be if I can mention it. And so everybody's got to know that. But getting to the issue at hand, Vesta is presenting Rudy as a candidate for general manager. I think that it would be incumbent upon all of us to meet with him separately, which is the only way we can do it. And then this will be something to discuss.
What meeting? The first meeting?
Well,
Okay.
well, it could be the June meeting. It can't be May 28th, right? But it can be the first meeting in June. We can discuss it.
We're going to move to the 6th.
Okay. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So now it's left up to my fellow supervisors to give Rudy a call, set up a time when you can meet with him separately, and then we move forward from there.
I have a question. You mentioned financial. Now, Rudy has an incredible amount of experience, first-class clubs and things like that. it's not norm, I guess, in Southwest Florida that we get a person of his caliber for a position like this. Now, are we incurring any additional financial expenses because of his experience?
I'm sure. I don't know the dollar figures, but as I say, it's my understanding, and I think I'm correct, that your current salary is supplemented by Vesta, and then we're paying another portion of it. Is that?
We're paying the old GM rate.
We're paying the old GM rate, but your salary is being supplemented by Vesta. That is correct, right?
That's my understanding.
Yes. So one of the questions that I did ask Ginger was, if Rudy is accepted as general manager, then are you still supplementing his salary? What are we talking about? And dollars were never discussed, and I'm not going to discuss dollars here. But dollars were never discussed, but we would now have 100% of Rudy's salary. There would be no supplement from Vesta. Okay? So,
But we will have to know what that means.
Yeah, that's my question.
No, not next
Yes,
time.
That's my question.
25th.
we
You can ask when you meet with them individually, you can free to call Ginger. Ginger's still back there, by the way.
Yes.
Um,
So we'll know what that number,
I
what
can
that
hear
number
you.
is. We'll know what
Well-
that number is. What my concern is that, I've said it again and again and again, I want to see sufficient support for Rudy in this job, because this is a big time deal here. And Vesta does not have a community, maybe they have one other community that's, you could compare to this in its complexities. And we went for a very long period of time without having communication, and finally it happened. We need some guarantees from Vesta, not from Rudy, but from Vesta, that there is going to be support. Now, we're going to go through a budget cycle, we're going through a budget cycle very shortly, and that's why I said to Rudy before, you all set for the 28th. It's very important. We have all kinds of legal implications. We have to have this budget done. I just want to ensure that he's getting enough support. That's my major concern.
Just, the meeting is on the 23rd.
23rd, I'm sorry. 23rd, 2 weeks from today. Okay, so that's all I had to say. So I'd like each of you, if you would, to make an appointment to speak with Rudy, and then at the June meeting, we can discuss this. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have a resume that would be available?
I haven't done one in 10 years, but I can have one ready.
What have you been doing the last 10 years?
I've been serving my,
that was
my
rhetorical.
communities.
You just got out, yeah.
Yeah,
Still on parole?
I was still on parole.
Any other supervisor requests or comments?
Did the joint meeting with Heritage go through yet, or is that to be done? Weren't you gonna do some kind of a?
Yeah, with respect to the recruiting thing.
Yes.
You know, in fairness to both sides, there is no wage parity at the moment. So I can come to a job fair and I can sit at your desk and your Heritage guy at the other desk. So we, in order to have that discussion and have it be mutually beneficial for the community, we need to address that issue first.
Right.
Okay.
Any other supervisor requests or comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 11:55 a.m.
How much money we saved by the end of the